Thank you, Dr. Rajkumar. Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir. And I can see many other dignitaries who have joined on this platform. The teachers from Sri Vishwakarma Skill University, the faculty members of colleges which are affiliated with Sri Vishwakarma Skill University, and all other teachers who have joined this platform on this auspicious Teachers' Day. I wish all of you a very, very happy Teachers' Day. And to start this auspicious day, especially the Teachers' Day, with a noble idea to have an expert talk on the new age skills and role of teachers, I think it's something very appropriate for all of the teachers. And especially when the session will be taken by two very eminent personalities who are well-established names in the field of technical and vocational education. So for today's keynote address, we have Professor S.S. Mantha, who is shortly going to join. And for the presidential address, we have Dr. Raj Nehru, who has already joined. On the behalf of university, I welcome you, sir, on this platform. So once Professor S.S. Mantha joins with his formal welcome, we will start this program. But by the time he is joining, he will be joining in next 2-3 minutes. So by the time he is joining, Professor Mantha has also joined. I take this opportunity to welcome Professor S.S. Mantha on this platform. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Can you hear us, sir?
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So just to start, to begin this program, I would like to quickly introduce both of the eminent personalities who are going to deliver their lecture today for the benefit of all the teachers who have joined this platform. So first of all, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker, Professor S.S. Mantha. Professor S.S. Mantha is having the background of a mechanical engineer, but from the mechanical engineering, he himself transformed totally into a person of e-governance, and he is well known for his e-governance initiative in this country. With the background of mechanical engineering, he started teaching in Mumbai, and the subject actually he was teaching at that point of time was probably robotics and automation, about which nowadays everybody is speaking. So this is way back in around 2000-2005. Professor Mantha is pioneer in introducing the e-governance system probably in the country for the first time in a municipal corporation. That was the Mumbai Municipal Corporation. The municipal corporation tried to create a citizens service center, and Professor Mantha was the key person behind that initiative who successfully implemented in the municipal corporation. And later on, many more municipal corporations copied that model. The greatest contribution I can say of Professor Mantha was transforming the technical education in this country by introducing the e-governance system. The whole technical education system was governed by the age-old regulatory mechanism with a lot of human intervention. So Professor Mantha took this initiative in 2009-10, and he introduced the e-governance mechanism in the approval process of the technical institution in this country. And later on, that model was also replicated by all other regulators across the country. So the country owes for this great contribution to Professor Mantha. So on this occasion, since Professor Mantha is known for his disruptive thinking, so we thought that he will be the most appropriate person for delivering the keynote address on this Teachers' Day. So once again, we welcome you here, sir. The next speaker, Dr. Raj Nehru. Dr. Raj Nehru is again a well-established name in the vocational ecosystem in this country. Dr. Nehru was working in a corporate. He had a long experience of over three decades in working in corporate MNCs, IBM, Schneider, and many more companies. And he was closely associated with the engagement of employees, selection of employees in these big corporates. And he was well aware that what is the gap actually which academia produce and which industry require. So in this university, in Sri Vishwakarma Skill University, he established a very innovative model of integrating the works with education, which is the industry integrated dual education model. So the dual education model, the concept of dual education model in this country is given by an innovative thinker, a skill guru, Dr. Raj Nehru. So we will be privileged to listen from these two great personalities who thinks differently. They are, again, both of them are known for their disruptive thinking. And I think their guidance will be extremely helpful for all the teachers who have joined this platform, not only from this university, from our affiliated college, but I can see that many other faculty members from across the country have joined this platform. So I'm sure that all of us will be immensely benefited from the experience, from the expertise of both of these speakers. So once again, I welcome Dr. Raj Nehru, Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, on this platform. And once again, welcome all other dignitaries, all other teachers who have joined. And once again, a very happy Teachers' Day to all of you. With this background, now without taking much of your time, I would request Professor S.S. Mantha to take the stage for his keynote address. Over to you, Mantha, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Rathod, and good morning, Dr. Raj Nehru, the other faculty members of the university, and the invited guests. A very good morning to you all. Now, this is a very good occasion to talk about, the changes that are happening within the academic environment and the expectations of the people around and the aspirations of the children of today. Now, first of all, Teachers' Day is celebrated, on different dates in various countries. But in many places, it's to September. And this is essentially to honor and appreciate the contributions of teachers in the society. Now, in India, we also celebrate Teachers' Day today. That's the 5th September every year. And this happens to be the birth anniversary of Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, who was a distinguished philosopher, scholar. He was a great teacher and also the second president of the country. As far as he is concerned, he also held several prestigious positions, of professor of philosophy, in the King George V chair of Mental and Moral Science at the University of Calcutta, way back in 1921 to 1932. Now, a little bit of what he did for the teaching fraternity would be good to know before we start off on the new age skills. Radhakrishnan believed that teachers play a vital role in shaping the future of the nation and of the children of the nation. Incidentally, Russia too celebrates 5th September as the Teachers' Day. And in China, it's celebrated on the 10th of September. Whereas in Brazil, it's celebrated on 15th of October, and so on. So in general, it's in honor of the teachers. And therefore, it's very necessary to understand the teacher's role and the vis-a-vis the students' aspirations in terms of the changing environment. Now, when we talk about a university, there are two things that happen within the university. The learning that we get is either deductive or experiential. Within a university, it's most of the time deductive, which means they teach the logic, they teach you to analyze, they teach you to understand different contexts and figure out the essence of such understanding. Whereas the experiential learning is something that you get on the job. The early universities were never meant to guarantee jobs. They were meant to provide you the skills that are required in order that a student becomes employable in any situation, albeit he should have the core knowledge and he should have the skills to excel. So, but today, the university system has undergone a massive change. And what we expect is that the university provides you deductive skills and also the experiential skills. Many universities today proudly give their placement record as a, as something that defines the university. Anyway, that's about changing times. As far as skills is concerned, I said experiential skills are most of the time attained on the job. So which means one needs to work hands-on, understand the dynamics around that, and then he gets the requisite skills to perform in a given situation. Most of the industries expect the universities to give them a finished product, which is not possible all the time. In fact, it's not possible most of the time. Or conversely, many industries are also outsourcing their skill requirements to parties outside, to companies outside. These are all changing times, and therefore probably we don't discuss whether we don't debate whether it's right or wrong, but that's about the way the environment is changing. Now, having said that, the skills that are required, they also seem to have a shelf life today, which means that any skill that I possess will have a shelf life of maybe 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, or whatever, which means that I need to reskill, I need to upskill, I need to learn, unlearn, relearn, and so on. So it's a continuous process where you need to build skills for the time that is required with the full understanding that from some time from now, you will need a different set of skills. Now, this is because the industry has been changing. It has been adopting technology and the technology itself has been changing. So therefore, we need to understand the industry as well, its evolution, and bring back some of those practices, some of those best practices back into the university so that the students are not left behind when they start looking for a job. Now, how is all this done? There are again multiple questions here. One part, if you look at the industry, the job profile at one point of time was a pyramid-like structure. At the base, you had lower order skills requirement, but you had number of jobs at the base. As you go up, the skill level goes up, but the numbers of requirement becomes less. And at the top of the pyramid, you have one leader with a very high order skills of management, of understanding technology, of being able to take policy decisions, things like that. The current world has changed this paradigm. The employment sector is no longer pyramid-like because at the entry level, there has been a lot of automation, AI, and intelligent agents that have taken over many of the mundane, repeatable jobs, or where the skill sets are repeated. They are all taken over by the artificial intelligence and essentially automation. Now, because of this, the number of jobs that are required at the base of the pyramid have reduced. But at the entry level now, you need much higher order skills than probably you had maybe a decade back. So as you go up, the order of the skills goes even higher, but the number of jobs don't increase. So it's more, a pyramid is more now becoming more like a pipe-like structure. So therefore, these are some changes that are happening. And in light of that, we need to understand what those new age skills and so on is. So one of the major changes that has taken place within the industry, whether it's not important to know what kind of industry, whether it's a pharma industry, it's a manufacturing industry, or maybe an electronics industry or a service industry, whatever you name it, there are concepts of industry 4.0 coming in. Now, industry 4.0 has several facets to it. There are at least 10 different technologies that define industry 4.0, and we need to understand what some of those technologies are. For example, artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, your robotic process automation, your 5G, so IoT, industrial IoT. These are all these technologies. They define the industry 4.0. And in order to fit into an environment of industry 4.0, you need labor 4.0 with the skill sets that drive the requirements of industry 4.0. Now, some people say it's fourth revolution, but that's not the point. The point is that skill sets required now are very different, and they must be commensurate with the changes that are happening within the technology sector. Now, most of these technologies are digital in nature, so therefore you need integration of those digital technologies. You need to understand automation. You need to understand data-driven processes into various industries. And in order to thrive in that area, individuals will need specific skills, a set of skills to navigate this changing landscape of work and technology. And that is actually what we term as labor 4.0. Now, what are the kind of skills? When I talk about new age skills, I'll separate this out into essentially two parts. One is the hardware part of it, and the other is the soft skills. So when I talk about the hardware part of it, a student today will need digital literacy, which means using digital tools, technologies, fundamental skills that are as applicable to 4.0 space. And this includes, a lot of proficiency with computers, with software applications, ability to adapt to new digital platforms and so on. Now, one other skill that would be extremely essential, because I said skills have a shelf life today, is cognitive flexibility. A student must have cognitive flexibility, which means that he should be able to fit into different environments of working and be as good at as in any other environment. So today, if I'm working in a certain environment, 3 years down the line, the technology changes, I have to change the job, I have to get into a new environment. I can't be forced to relearn things like that. So therefore, that cognitive flexibility must be built within the students' capabilities. Now, having said digital literacy, one also needs data analytics and data science. And with the increasing importance of data in decision making, there are a lot of high-end skills that are required. And this is one of the skills in data analytics, data visualization, data science. These are all highly valuable. And students should be able to collect data, analyze, interpret data to derive insights and inform business strategies. So therefore, today's employment sector has jobs for data collection, data analysis, data interpretation, and so on. And the level of difficulty also rises from data science to data analysis to data interpretation, and so on. So therefore, these are some of the new age skills that people should be looking at. Now, it's not. Whatever I'm talking about is not technology centric. Whether it's a student is an arts graduate, science graduate, commerce graduate, a medical graduate, or any other, an engineer, these skills are required. There are essentially three groups of skills that are required, irrespective of what discipline a student is in. The first is the business skills. The second is the data skills. And the third is the technology or core skills. Now, under each of these, depending on which sector and employment would be available, the student will have to make himself ready with those kind of expertises. So there, data analytics and data science becomes extremely important. The next is the knowledge about artificial intelligence and machine learning. Now, a familiarity is required, irrespective of the discipline in which a student is in. And these technologies are used for automation, predictive analysis, and improving efficiency across industries. Then, because everything is moving toward digitalization and transformations around digital technologies, cybersecurity becomes extremely important. And as digital systems become more prevalent, the need for cybersecurity skills increases. So they should understand the principles of cybersecurity, protecting sensitive data and infrastructure from cyber threats, and so on. For example, you have a power grid today, which is essentially one can attack a power grid, and if the power grid comes down, a section of the city may lose its power. So therefore, cybersecurity is not again computer specific or software specific. These are application areas. Most of the things that I'm talking about are all application areas, and they are agnostic of what discipline they are applied to. These technologies may be applied in pharma industry. They could be applied in a typically process industry or a manufacturing industry or whatever. Then it is also very necessary to have programming and coding skills. So proficiency in programming languages like Python, Java, or C++ will be absolutely valuable. And these skills are essential for developing and maintaining the software that is already there in the company, and also maintaining the automation systems that exist in the company. Then the next skill that would be required is to understand Internet of Things. Now, Internet of Things is extremely simple to, without going to the complexities of the subject. What it means is there are two words here. One is Internet and one is things. So you need Internet and you need things. Now, these things are communicating devices. They could be cameras, they could be your pen drives, they could be laptops, they could be mobiles, anything that communicates with one another over the internet. So all your sensors like cameras, they all become things. And for example, a typical process plant, there could be multiple sensors, each one producing a lot of data. And all this data must be, first of all, collected, analyzed, interpreted, and so on. So therefore, this entire network that we are talking about is Internet of Things. And the decision making must be very, very critical in such applications where a lot of data is collected from different sensors and so on. For example, in a process industry, you could have multiple temperature measuring devices. You could have pressure measuring devices. You could have anything, for example, anything that is measuring will become a thing. And therefore, the data that comes from there must first of all be collected, it must be analyzed, it must be interpreted, and then decision making happens. So Internet of Things is must. Now, most of these technologies, they also operate on a cloud computing basis. So knowledge of cloud platforms, people must understand what is Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, or Google Cloud, things like that, and the crucial, they are all crucial for the businesses, and that are that rely on scalability and essentially look at cost-effective IT infrastructure. So cloud computing is another skill that is required. Then one will also need robotics and familiarity with robots. There are active robots, there are passive robots, there are miniature robots, there are all kinds of things which come under the classification of robotics. Incidentally, robota is a Czechoslovakian word, and what it means is forced labor. So if we, in the early days of robotics, we used robotics to, mimic the movements of a human being and work like a human being or work like a slave. Now that was the concept. And therefore the technology that drives robotics, whether it's computer science or electronics or mechanical, whatever, must all be understood. And this is required to maintain robots. For example, your Maruti factory is completely of robots. In fact, most of the automobile industries today are run by robots, and a family of robots, and they have different functions and so on. So robotics is another skill area that will be useful. Then another skill area that will be interesting is the human-machine collaboration. So as we are increasing the automation in our industries, individuals will need skills, working alongside machines and artificial intelligence systems. So what is a skill here? One should understand how to implement automated processes and make decisions based on AI-generated insights. So that's another skill that will be required. Now, apart from all this, one will also need cross-functional collaboration. Now, Industry 4.0, which I started off with, often involves interdisciplinary teams working on complex projects. No project today is simple. There are multiple teams working on multiple technologies. In fact, every machine that you talk about, whether your mobile or washing machine or your car or whatever machine you talk about, they are a summation of several technologies coming together, which means several teams are there which design and put together. Then there is a system, there's a component level dynamics, there is system level dynamics, and so on. So skills in communication, teamwork, collaboration across different functions and departments are extremely essential. Now, further, problem solving and critical thinking is extremely important. As technologies evolve, individuals need to show strong problem solving and critical thinking skills to address complex issues. There could be several scenarios in an industry which require addressing problems which come on the fly. So therefore, the critical thinking skills becomes extremely important. Then one must be adaptable to continuous learning. Like I said, cognitive flexibility is something that's associated with this. If I am not able to adapt to technology as it is changing, then I'll be left behind. So pace of technology change has been very, very rapid. So therefore, being adaptable and committed to lifelong learning is very crucial. Then, of course, there are ethical considerations. For example, understanding the ethical implications of technology, including issues related to privacy, bias in artificial. Several people talk about artificial intelligence as though that is the end of it. It's not like that. There are a lot of machine-human interfaces which have to be understood. And therefore, the ethical considerations become very, very important. One of the other important ethical consideration is when we define Industry 5.0. In the early days in industry, we spoke about only profit. When an industry was set up, people said, this industry must make profits. And every activity was driven towards maximizing profits. So there is a triple P bottom line, and the first P of this is profit. Then as industry evolved, people said that it's not only profit. Profits are maximized because people are working in the industries, and therefore the welfare of the people must be equally important. So therefore they got methodologies, they put in policies where people are taken care of, the people welfare measures are brought in and that in some way improved the performance and therefore the production and therefore the profits. So the second P is people. The first P is profit, second P is people. Now with Industry 4.0, a lot of technology has come in and several man functions are taken over by machines, both at the physical level and also at the mental level. Now, because of this, and therefore, production has become of a very prime importance today. And because of that, we are depleting natural resources without concern to the health of the planet. So, for example, we are mining a lot of minerals, we are prospecting for oil, we are prospecting for gas, and without any consideration as to how the earth will look at these things, and someday if it collapses, then there is no profit, there are no people, there are no industries, there is nothing. So therefore, the third concern today is how to preserve the planet, and that is the third P. So first P is profit, second is people, the third is welfare of the planet. So this is the triple P bottom line, and the Sustainable Development Goals actually look at this. So therefore, in ethical considerations, we must be, aware of the damage that we are causing to the planet and things like that. Of course, entrepreneurship, innovation, they're all very important skills. Supply chain management is extremely important. Understanding modern, supply chain concepts, including use of technology for supply chain optimization, for logistics and manufacturing industries. This skill is extremely important. Now, most of us have heard about, the current buzzword, ChatGPT and things like that. Now, there is artificial intelligence, there is generative artificial intelligence, there is regenerative artificial intelligence. We all understand artificial intelligence in some way where, we try mimicking a little bit of what a human being does through systems and processes. Now, in generative AI, we generate text, we generate images, and so on. And in regenerative AI, we mimic the biological systems in terms of, the automation and so on. So therefore, it's very necessary that we really understand these concepts when we are trying to build our skills. So like I said in the beginning, we need to do skilling, we need to do reskilling, upskilling, learning, unlearning, and relearning. Of course, there are, in order to do all this, there are micro credentials that have to be, like for example, in the COVID times, most of us must have worked on, acquiring small credits for maybe we learn data science or we learn analytics or we learn Python and we get a certification from either Coursera or Udemy or whatever. Now, these are all very small, fractional credit modules, which last for maybe 15 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours, and so on. So if 15 hours is one credit, this 10 hours becomes a fractional credit, and so on. So while completing our graduation or polytechnic education or whatever, it's very necessary to collect micro credentials, fractional credits in all the areas that I have spoken about till now. So then we also have a lot of things which keep defining and redefining these skills, and therefore that flexibility to learn must be there. Now, teachers play a critical role in nurturing these new age skills by creating a supportive and dynamic learning environment that encourages the development of these competencies. Therefore, teachers also must be in line with what is happening in the outside world. So therefore, teachers must handhold. In fact, the future role of a teacher will also change as the new age skills are changing. Earlier, the teacher used to teach. Now the teacher will have to become a guide, or he will have to become a mentor. So therefore, there are a lot of information available in the world. We need to collect that information, collect that information, make it available to a student in a certain form, and the teacher will only handhold in explaining them what that content is all about. So they play a very critical role in the new age, skill area. Then teachers, must go beyond the traditional role of imparting knowledge. They must inspire, support, empower. All these are we expect out of a teacher. So let's look at a few skills that the soft skills that students will require, and then I'll stop this argument for today. So we need, like I said, we need critical thinking and problem solving skills. One should be able to understand what the problem is, what are the boundary conditions of the problem, how is the problem analyzed, and what are the solutions for the problem. This must be possible to be analyzed upfront. Then creativity and innovation is necessary. And for every one of these soft skills, teachers are the people who can foster creativity. They must encourage students to explore, to come out with new ideas, to experiment with different approaches, express themselves creatively, and so on. Communication and collaboration is another important skill, and teachers must emphasize effective communication and collaboration skills. The future world is completely belongs to collaboration. One who collaborates will succeed. One who works in a silo will probably not succeed. So you need communication and collaboration. Then digital literacy and technology skills I've already talked about. Then adaptability and resilience. So any new situation, I should be able to adapt, and I should be able to succeed in that situation, however difficult that is. Now that is resilience, which means whatever be the adversity, whatever be the difficulty, I will come through of that situation, will call for resilience in me. So adaptability and resilience is important. Emotional intelligence is extremely important. Teachers promote this by teaching self-awareness, consciousness, self-regulation, empathy, and social skills. And they can also create a safe and supportive classroom environment where students can discuss, collaborate, and also exchange their emotions. Then students will need another soft skill, which is global awareness, cultural competency. See, what is happening in the global scenario, a student must generally understand, must generally know, and must have the interest to know. And cultural competency is, it's not only my culture that is important to me. I should be able to understand the rest of the people's culture, the background that they come from. How do I interact with them? How do I exchange ideas with them? Do I understand the conditions from which they come from? So all that is cultural competency is extremely important. Then, of course, financial literacy is very necessary today. So understanding finances, financial education, teaching students about budgeting, saving, investing, making informed financial decisions is again another very important skill. Entrepreneurship and leadership skills, of course, there are several courses available, there are micro credentials that you can get, and teachers must encourage them to take the initiative, develop the leadership qualities, and explore, entrepreneurial opportunities. The institute, the university must also provide those kind of opportunities. Then environmental awareness and sustainability is important. I told you about Industry 5.0, the triple P bottom line, and the sustainable development goals. Students must be aware of all this and must be able to connect with the industry they eventually would work on. So facilitating learning, providing individual support, fostering critical thinking, nurturing confidence, setting goals, setting aspirations, character development, providing emotional support, providing opportunities for lifelong learning, providing career guidance, building, healthy relationships. These are all something that the teacher must do. And so therefore, finally, I would only want to say that current times are challenging. As much as saying that they are challenging, they also give you several opportunities. A teacher is expected to do much more beyond just teach in a classroom, and a student is expected to learn much more than just learning in a classroom. There are technologies that are available which makes life a little easier, but then learning technology is also an art, it's also a skill. So with that, I would come to probably an end of my session, and hope on this Teachers' Day, first of all, my best wishes to all my colleagues and people on the other side, and to the organizers for having invited me, and thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot, sir, for sparing your valuable time on this auspicious day, sharing your thoughts with all the teaching community who is present on this platform, and giving the very critical input about the emerging skills and the role of teachers. And specifically when you said that the teacher's role to be more supportive and a dynamic learning environment. So I'm sure that the teachers who are present on this platform will be immensely benefited from the guide. I would say that the guidance or advice which is rendered by you, sir. So once again, thanks for this talk, and we will be looking forward for such many more talk from your side for the benefit of the teaching fraternity. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Rathod. My pleasure.
Thank you, sir. So with this, the next speaker, as I said that for the presidential address, we have with us Dr. Raj Nehru, Honorable Vice Chancellor of this Skill University, who has again set up a lot of benchmark into the skill ecosystem of this country. So I take this privilege to invite Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Raj Nehru. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Rathod, and all the teaching fraternity who has organized this program today. I was really impressed with the length and breadth of the talk that Dr. Mantha presented very curiously. I was listening to his talk. He brought the various elements of skills, including the technology, into the entire gamut of need today that a teacher has to take care of. And thank you, Dr. Mantha. It was highly inspiring talk that you shared on this occasion. And thank you very much for joining this program organized by university. So I was thinking about what Professor Mantha was talking about, and then it was suddenly striking my mind that given the contemporary times, what should be the role of teacher? What actually teacher does? When we look at our entire history and our ancient period, the role of teacher to my understanding, has been a person who actually helps the birth of a mind of an individual. You know, children who are born and they are small toddlers, they were handed over to gurukuls, to teachers. And the basic premise with which they were handed over to teachers was that teacher will help and shape, create and nurture their way of thinking. And I think this role of teacher has not changed even in contemporary times. The environment has changed. The technology has changed. The systems and processes might have changed. But this fundamental role of teacher, of how to help shape and nurture the thinking, the minds of young students, it has not changed. The methods may have changed, but the objective with which a person comes and joins the teaching profession, this basic objective has not changed. I think our ancient education went beyond this purpose, not only creating the birth of or helping in the birth of mind. I think the ancient education and the teachers moved beyond this. They moved into the realms of helping a student to realize who they are. Like our Bhagavad Gita or our ancient scriptures talk about the individuality of each children or each individual is different. What we also call the Vyaktitva. I have forgotten that shloka in Bhagavad Gita, which talks about the individuality of each children, each individual, which is very different. Every individual is very, very unique. And by that logic, by that shloka, the 7 billion population are the 7 billion worlds walking on this earth. Because every individual carries a world inside himself or herself. So what happens in the modern world is when we are born, instead of being able to see that world inside us, we get more influenced by the world that has been created around us, and we forget who we are. It's like you have a lotus flower and a rose flower, and everyone today is very much impressed with the rose flower's fragrance, its beauty, and everyone forgets the existence and the uniqueness of lotus flower. And in that rush, everyone wants to become a rose flower. Now that was the role of our teachers, our gurus, to help everyone understand that who you are. If someone is a lotus inside him or her, they have to realize how to become a good lotus. And rather than getting influenced by the societal pressures of becoming a rose. And that's what's happening today. And that's where the teachers have a very bigger role to help each individual recognize who they are. And that's what the ancient education actually did. And for that, we had different levels of teachers. We had what we called adhyapaks, shikshaks, then you had acharyas, upadhyayas, and then you had guru. And each of them had a different role to play. And the gurus were the ones who actually helped these youngsters to connect and get aware of who they are. That was the moment of self-realization, that who you are. And that's what Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita creates, that moment for Arjuna to make him feel who he is, who he really is, which he calls Nijita of Arjun. That when Arjun drops his weapons and says, instead of picking the weapons, I would like to become something else. And that is when Krishna tells him, this is your individuality. You are born to fight. You are a warrior. Your Nij Dharma is to be a warrior, and helps him to understand the role for which he has been born. And that is when that transformation happens in him, and he goes back and picks up the weapons and fights again. This entire transformative story is about the role of teacher helping an individual to recognize who he or she is and understand that Nij Dharma, understand that individuality for which that person is born, and perform that role. So besides the two things, one, helping an individual in developing his mind, the birth of a mind is one role, and then understanding who he or she is, and how that outer role and the inner individuality is connected, and there's a synchrony between that and makes a perfect person. And then in the outer world, we bring in the contemporary learnings, and technology is changing, things are changing, new job roles are emerging, but without connecting with the real inner self. If someone wants to be a poet by his individuality and we are pushing him to become an engineer, we will never make him a good engineer, and he will never be able to recognize and realize that he was a good poet. So the role of teacher is how we balance. And I think there was one important word that Professor Mantha made. He said cognitive flexibility. And I loved that word, what he said. That how we are able to inculcate that sense of cognitive flexibility among our children by helping them to become adaptable in all the situations. Now, it's very easy to say the word cognitive flexibility. It's as difficult for a teacher to really practice his methods by understanding the uniqueness of everyone and then inculcating that sense of cognitive flexibility. But there is equally a bigger challenge in the contemporary world, that is cognitive dissonance. Because today, there may be some value inside a child which is a by birth value. So we in our science we say we are born with certain traits, we are born with certain values, like the genetic predisposition which gets transferred from one generation to another generation. I am a cluster of many past experiences. So I am born with certain values, but when I come into the world, there are certain values which are thrust on me. Because of that, and a kind of cognitive dissonance also develops. I want to do something, but something is pushed on me. So that is another challenge for a teacher, to understand how to handle that cognitive dissonance. A simple example can be, I am a very health conscious person. I want to be healthy. But for being healthy, I value the health. But for valuing health, I have to value getting up early in the morning and going to a walk or a run or doing physical fitness. While I value health, I do not get up early in the morning. Very difficult for me to get up early in the morning. It's a cognitive dissonance. It may happen in many. I'm just giving a very crude example. We don't like smoking, but I know that smoking is bad for health, but I still go for smoking. It's a cognitive dissonance. The moment I'm smoking, I feel very pity on myself, but then I smoke. So this is a cognitive dissonance. And this cognitive dissonance may not only be among the students, this will be actually existing among the teachers. I want to do something, but then I don't do. I know there is something as an output I have to achieve, but then I don't do those things which will help me to achieve output. Now that's what has happened in the existing education system. Instead of, even the NEP talks about the outcome-based education, we have traditionally stayed very strong with the throughput-based education, the input-based education. Today, all our metrics as a teacher, what we want to show as an achievement, is I did this. You have hundreds of boxes to tick. I did this seminar, I did this program, I did this lecture, I did this conference, I did my 100 classes. All list you will see the throughput. But there is a dissonance between the throughput and the output that I want to achieve. There is no focus on output. There is no measurement on output. There is no monitoring of output. There is no effort put in defining that output in more quantifiable way and then working on backwards and aligning my values with that value. To me, I sometimes feel that there must be a kind of reflect, act, react, enact, and reflect. It's a process that I find is more cyclic. You have to reflect on what you want to achieve. We talk about the program outcomes, learning outcomes, performance criteria. We have to reflect what actually they mean to us in any program as a teacher. How many times we really reflect on, not simply go and write the outcomes, not simply go and write the performance criteria. How many times as a teacher I am reflecting on those outcomes? What are those outcomes? Where are those outcomes coming from? Are those outcomes linked with the broader outcomes where my student tomorrow has to go and work and perform and act and respond? So how many times I reflect on that? And based on reflection, I act on that. And that action is I work backwards. There may be certain values which may be preventing me, but how many times I manage those values and work backward and act. And then how many times I react on that action, that whether that action was right and aligned with my objectives, that reflection outcomes that I had defined. And reaction is again reflecting, acting on what I created. Is it aligned with that? And based on that reaction, enacting, maybe I have to make certain changes. Maybe I was not doing something very right. I was just having that cognitive dissonance while as goals were defined, but I was not acting as per the action that I had planned, or I did not plan the action. And once I do that, enacting means now I am again modifying, adjusting my actions, again reflect. And that reflect process will again come and see, yes, what I was wanting to achieve as an objective, my reflection tells me now, yes. So this reflection, action, reaction, and action, and back to reflection, I think somewhere, ये हमारी परंपरागत process रही है. I was just, speaking this in my own language, but otherwise ये जो हमारी शैक्षिक पद्धति रही है इसी प्रकार की रही है. तो मुझे लगता है कहीं पे ये जो टीचर का रोल है इन द कंटेम्पररी वर्ल्ड, ये बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण हो गया है. लेकिन अनफॉर्चुनेटली कहीं ना कहीं पे ये रिफ्लेक्शन टू रिफ्लेक्शन के बीच की जो जर्नी है वो कहीं पे डाइल्यूट हो गई है. वो कहीं ना कहीं पे मुझे लगता है कि हमारे जो, या तो एज अ टीचर आई एम नॉट एबल टू रिकॉग्नाइज हु आई एम. am I really passionate about teaching? And as a teacher, am I really passionate about helping minds to take shape? Am I passionate about helping people to recognize who they are? And am I passionate about transforming through this process their lives? And transforming their lives will shape not only them, will shape the society, will shape the nation, will shape the world. That's why I am termed to be called as a guru, because I'm doing some job that the nature, that the God or that creator has, blessed me with. Teacher is another form of the God. That's why we have given highest place to gurus in our tradition, because we think they actually help this ecosystem to sustain. So to talk a little bit more about it, I think we as teachers also need to be reflective on ourselves and learn certain skills. Like Dr. Mantha talked about many things on technology and many things which are a little bit more behavioral aspects. I think there are certain leadership skills among the teacher and teaching community as well that teachers need to focus. And one of the most important, I'll say a couple of them. One of the most important is that is teacher motivated to continuously learn, unlearn, relearn? If you are not motivated, see, we think we have done our PhD or BTech or MTech or MA, BA, and we have completed our education, and that's the end of learning. That is the biggest fallacy on which a teacher, then he or she is not a real teacher. A great teacher would be the one who is open, who is self-motivated to continuously embark on those pathways where they learn, unlearn, relearn new things. And learning means they also learn the emergence of a new student community in front of us. We have a very disruptive kind of a millennial population, zillennial population coming in front of us. They are very disruptive. They are breaking the old traditional thought process of what a student should be. And the teacher's role is to how to acclimatize himself or herself with this emerging student, emerging diversity of thinking among the students, and emergence of diversity of need among students. And that propels us to teacher to learn certain new things. But the fundamental value of a teacher, if someone is really into a teaching profession, to me, is, by the time a person who is into teaching profession takes his last or her last breath, they must be continuously motivated to learn, and learn. And then how to unlearn that and how to relearn. And that is the core skill, I find. Besides this, there are other skill sets, like, for example, unless a teacher is empathetic, unless a teacher puts his or her shoes in the shoes of the student. Today, we are getting so many students. I was day before yesterday, hearing from someone that they cannot communicate. Their skills of communication are very poor. We know that that's a problem, but we can't leave them like that. As a teacher, it's our responsibility how to address that uniqueness and diversity and how to be inclusive in the class. So how can I be empathetic? How can I imagine that the same child is my child? Now that's more empathetic. Unless you treat those children your own children, you will never be empathetic with them. Or you will have to learn certain skills, the way we treat our children. So empathy is another important skill set that our teachers require. I think besides empathy, I think there's one more skill that I find, which I experience almost every day, that there is a lack of compassion for our children. And that lack of compassion sometimes impacts our drive. So I think this compassion with which we should be getting out, and that only that compassion can compel me to prepare for a class every time I enter into that class. Most of the times we enter into the class because just we have to enter the class and we have to give our lecture. I think that is another biggest fallacy and another biggest mistake that our teachers do. Every class requires you to prepare. And unless you are compassionate about what you are doing, for whom you are doing, you will never prepare yourself. And another area is, effective communication, not communication. The effective communication means the intent with which you initiated the communication, the purpose of that communication has been achieved. If that has not been achieved, it is not an effective communication. And most of the times we don't know what we are communicating and whether that communication is being received the way I want and I want to, and on the objectives of their communication. So I think on this Teachers' Day, it's very important for all of us to resolve certain things. We also live in certain certain dark world, not the web dark world, but our own dark world. We have no clarity about who we are and why we are here, and what is the purpose that I want to achieve. Most of us, if we do this reflection almost every day, how many teachers every day when they complete their class or when they complete their day reflect on the day, that how was my day? Did I meet the desired outcomes? Did I meet that purpose with which I entered into the school or college or university? So that reflection, every day we sleep. Before sleeping, do we spend a minute? Or every time we finish the class, do we reflect, did my class achieve the desired objectives? So on this day, let's take a resolve that every time I do something, it is aligned with that purpose. And every time I do something to meet that purpose, I reflect whether my efforts were aligned with that purpose. And every time I finish my course or I finish my program, I recheck, I reassure myself that whatever I did, it was in line with that. And if we don't do this, I think we are doing the biggest crime on this earth, and we will never be pardoned. Our personalities become such that when we will be born and born again, this will continue with us as an abhishap, and we will, वो जो बोलते हैं ना मुक्ति मिलना, वो मुक्ति कभी नहीं मिलेगी हमें, वो इस बंधन में हमें बांध के घुमाती रहेगी, और जब तक हम उसकी क्लिंजिंग अपने एफर्ट से नहीं करेंगे, ये जीवन तब तक हमारा, या आने वाले जीवन तब तक हमारे सार्थक नहीं होंगे. इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, and thank you very much, and wish all of you best on this Teachers' Day. May your efforts, may your actions inspire everyone's life all around and make your society, our country, this world a beautiful world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot for your thought-provoking talk. And I'm sure these two sessions will definitely help all of us in reshaping that what we are doing, why we are doing, how we should means as a teacher deliver, not for ourselves, not for our teachers, but for the society, how that transformation can take place. So once again, thanks a lot, sir, for your session. Moving forward, I would request Professor Jyoti Rana to express, to share her thought and extend the word of thanks to both the eminent speakers of the day. Over to you, Professor Jyoti.
Thank you very much, respected Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, and Professor S.S. Mantha, keynote speaker of the day, and all the teachers who are on this platform. So first of all, warm wishes on Teachers' Day. Happy Teachers' Day to all of us. It's really a proud moment for all of us to think about the whole day is being devoted to teachers, although every day in the student's life is very, very important when he or she interacts with the students. On this Teachers' Day, we heard the thoughts of both the speakers, and I think they were so thought-provoking. So I take this privilege to thank Professor S.S. Mantha for delivering keynote address on the Teachers' Day. And when Professor Mantha was insisting on technology in life, so I think that is the ultimate object and purpose of the education, that whatever we are teaching or whatever we are learning in our education life, and we are learning in the journey of education, if that is being related to life, that is the actual learning, that is the ultimate learning. So thank you very much, Professor Mantha. One more very important insight he has given, along with the other wonderful thoughts he has shared. That is how technology can facilitate multidisciplinary education in the institutions, where AI can be learned by those students who are not having the technology background. And the other students can also work in the area of technology. He was talking about the cognitive flexibility that is really important for all the students to understand, and for all the teachers to understand that how this cognitive flexibility can be facilitated in the transformation of the student. So thank you very much, sir, for highlighting all these very important areas from the technology point of view, and how technology can be useful in one person's, in one individual's, in one student's life, and how teachers can focus on that. So thank you very, very much for highlighting all these important areas. We are very thankful to Honorable Vice Chancellor, the second speaker of the day, for sharing the thoughts on the compassion, empathy, and transformation, and the role of a teacher on Teachers' Day. Indeed, sir, when you were talking about and you were giving the examples from Mahabharata, so I still remember the words of Socrates, who always said that in any individual's life, half credit goes to parents and half credit goes to teachers. But an individual cannot choose the parents, but indeed, at some point of time, the students can choose the teachers. And a good teacher not only understands the concepts of, or make the students understand the concept of electrons and protons, but he can understand the psyche of the students, of backbenchers in the classes also. So the role of teacher is extremely important in one student's life. You mentioned, sir, that role of teacher is very important for the self-realization. And indeed, after realizing the after having the self-awareness and self-realization, a student can understand what is good for him and what interests him, and he can choose the area, he can choose the career where he wants to go. It is always said a failure of a student is considered as a failure of a teacher. So the teacher's role is not only to deliver the talk or share the thoughts, but to transform the lives of the students as well. So thank you very much, sir, for highlighting the importance of a teacher and where the teacher can make a difference in the life of student. We are extremely thankful to you. So on this Teachers' Day, I think 2-3 things which were coming to my mind as well. And I take this opportunity to, share with all of you. At every step, if you find that if you have a teacher, so your journey of learning becomes very easy. As everybody knows, the Arjuna was having a fantastic teacher, Lord Krishna. Similarly, Alexander was having the fantastic teacher, Aristotle. Similarly, Chandragupta was also having the fantastic teacher of Chanakya. The journey becomes very, very, very easy if a teacher who understands the student, who understands the disciple, and gives the direction to his or her life in this education journey. So not only this, but the teacher's role is to stop the student at some point of time when he or she is making some wrong decisions, because he is the experienced one. He has gone through the life, so he can easily tell what is right and what is wrong for the students. So that is the role of teacher. And I think the teacher conveys the concept and builds a concept of faith and self-confidence among the students. And when this faith comes, and faith in our own personalities, in our own competencies, that is more important, because every individual is competent, but we are not able to realize that what our competency is. There the role of teacher comes into the picture. So that is really, really very important, because everybody has that confidence, everybody has that that competency. But throughout life, it happens with some students, they are not able to realize that how competent they are. So that's how we see the examples, at some point of time, the students become successful. So how students become successful? Because they realize that this is their competency. That realization can be done with the help of a teacher. So when a teacher goes in the class and interacts with the students, so he is influencing, or she is influencing many lives, and knowingly and unknowingly, we are influencing in many ways to our students. So that is also very important to understand, that what words and what kind of actions, what kind of interaction we are making in the classes. I think that gives a different kind of direction and different kind of insights to the students, and the teachers influence and transform the life of the students. So with these thoughts, once again, I'm so thankful to both the eminent speakers for delivering their thoughts. I'm thankful to organizers for organizing such a fantastic session on this auspicious day, the whole organizing team who are involved in this. I'm extremely thankful for giving me the opportunity for sharing my thoughts as well. I'm extremely thankful to all the teachers who are present here, all the staff members who are present here, for sparing time and for making this session successful. Once again, happy Teachers' Day to all of you. Thank you. Thank you very much.